And welcome to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon of First, our top stories. Court grants 500 million naira bill to Malami wife and son. ADC criticizes federal government over Nigeria's silence following recent developments between Trump and Venezuela. Tini Moturaki announces Goodluck Jonathan's pledge to support for PDP. Disco's revenue rises as FG pay 458.75 billion naira electricity subsidies in 3 months. On our international scene, White House says US discussing options to acquire Greenland, including use of military. And in sport, Algeria beat DR Congo in extra time to face Nigeria in quarterfinals of AFCON. Those are our top stories. Details coming up in just a moment. First on the news, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami and 2 others bail in the sum of 500 million naira with 2 sureties. The sureties, according to the judge, must have landed property in Asokoro, Maitama, Gwaringba. He added that they must submit their traveling documents to the court. The documents of the properties are to be verified by the Deputy Chief Registrar of the court, while the sureties are also to depose 2 affidavit of means. Malami was also ordered to deposit his traveling documents with the court and must not travel out of the country without the permission of the court. The former AGF and his sureties were also ordered to deposit their 2 recent passport photographs with the court. Meanwhile, Malami has been ordered to be remanded in Kuje prison pending his perfection of the bail conditions. Justice Nwite subsequently fixed February 17th for commencement of trial of the corruption charges. The same bail was extended to Malami, son Abdulaziz Malami, and an employee of Rahamaniya Properties Limited, Ajia Asabi Bashir. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC filed a 16-count alleged money laundering charge against Malami, his son, and his wife. The African Democratic Congress ADC has criticized the federal government over Nigeria's silence following recent development in Venezuela, describing the lack of an official position as embarrassing and unworthy of the country's status as a leading African nation. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, expressed the party's concerns during a television interview. According to Abdullahi, Nigeria has lost its standing as a principal voice in Africa and West Africa under the current administration, at a time when the crisis in Venezuela presents a defining moment with far-reaching consequences for the global order. Recording Nigeria's historical role in global diplomacy, Abdullahi said the country had previously taken clear and courageous positions on major international issues. He noted that several countries within the West African sub-region had already expressed positions on the crisis, whether in support of or in opposition to the development in Venezuela, but Nigeria had remained conspicuously silent. Take a listen.
Nigeria has lost its stand as a leading voice on the African continent. As a matter of fact, as a leading voice in this West Africa sub-region. This is Nigeria that we're talking about, for God's sake. This is the Nigeria of Jaja Wachukwu. This is Nigeria of Joseph Garba. This is the Nigeria where Nigerian leaders stand on the world stage and take clear positions on issues. Now, what happened last Saturday, it's a defining moment in international politics, the one that has serious implication for global world order. Since the Second World War, a sitting president can go in and just, so What we are saying is that other countries in the West Africa sub-region come out to say this is our position, whether most of them objecting to what happened in Venezuela. Now, it doesn't matter. Nigeria could say, okay, we see it differently and we are supporting it, or we agree with what other people are saying and we don't agree. But what have we seen? Nigeria is nowhere to be found. Nigeria has not said anything. If that does not embarrass you as a citizen, it embarrasses us. The diminution of Nigeria on the international stage is an anomaly, is an embarrassment, is not befitting of a country like ours that is a leader that should ordinarily be a leader on the African continent. And where is our president? The State House released a statement that our president was proceeding on holiday to Europe. I wonder which country now is called Europe. Then before they eventually told us that he was in Paris, obviously they were too ashamed to tell us that he was going to Paris originally. Now, where is our...
Still on party politics, the National Working Committee (NWC) of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) on Tuesday met with former President Goodluck Jonathan at his Maitama office in Abuja. Addressing journalists after the closed-door meeting, National Chairman of the PDP, Ateni Moturaki, said the visit aimed to brief Jonathan on the party's state's ongoing legal battles and prospect ahead of upcoming elections. He added that Jonathan's remarks were very reassuring and encouraging as the party prepare for off-season elections in Ekiti and Osun and the 2027 general elections. The PDP has been embroiled in a leadership crisis with rival factions led by Abdurrahman Mohammed and Turaki claiming the national chairmanship. Take a listen.
We have solicited, as usual, for his support, for his guidance, for his advice, as always. And we have his assurance that he's still a card-carrying member of the People's Democratic Party. He's still active and will even be more active these days in the activities and affairs of the People's Democratic Party. And he has assured us that PDP had done everything for him that can be done to an individual, and that he still feels that he remains obligated to PDP. And his remarks and statements are not only reassuring, but indeed they are very, very encouraging as we begin to prepare for elections, off-season elections in Ekiti and Osun this year, and the general elections that are coming up in 2027. I want to assure members of the public and indeed PDP family members out there that PDP still remains the most veritable platform for standing and winning election in Nigeria. We still remain the leading opposition party in this country.
Moving on, the federal government says the ongoing industrial action by the National Association of Resident Doctors (NARD) is rooted in structural and policy issues within the health sector rather than neglect by the administration. Ishaq Salako, Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, stated this on Tuesday in a statement by Alaba Balogun, the Director of Information and Public Relations of the ministry. Salako said the government has demonstrated commitment to improving the welfare of health workers through recent reforms, including an upward review of professional allowances worth about 90 billion naira annually. The minister said the revised allowances approved in November 2025 cover call duty, shift duty, non-clinical duty, and rural person allowances and were negotiated jointly with all health professional groups. He said the current administration has adopted a collective bargaining approach to ensure inclusiveness and reduce conflict. The minister explained that while the government remains committed to improving healthcare workers' remuneration, such reviews must be balanced against competing national priorities, including education, security, and infrastructure. on NARD's currency demands, he said the association's request list has reduced from 19 to 9 items, which he described as progress in ongoing engagement. He, however, noted that some demands are limited by existing public service rules and approved schemes of service. Electricity distribution companies, also known as DISCO, posted measurable operational gains, with tariff collection efficiency rising to 80.7%, up 4.63 percentage points in the third quarter of 2025. The increase in revenue signals gradual movement in revenue recovery amid non-cost reflective tariffs, according to the latest data released by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC). According to the report, despite the introduction of the Band A tariff regime, government subsidies remains a critical lifeline for the electricity value chain, accounting for 58.63% of total GENCO's invoices in quarter 3. The federal government paid 458.75 billion naira in electricity subsidies in the quarter under review. The regulator's Q3 report showed that utility companies collected 570.21 billion naira out of the 706.61 billion naira billed to customers between July and September, translating to collection efficiency of 80.7%. NERC attributed the continued subsidies burden to the freezing of certain end-user tariffs at July 2024 levels, despite a rise in generation costs, even as DISCOs recorded marginal improvements in billing and collection efficiencies. According to the report, the total naira value of energy takeoff by all DISCOs stood at 854.53 billion naira during the period. Billing efficiency improved to 82.69%, up 1.08 percentage points from 81.61% recorded in the previous quarter. However, DISCOs recorded cumulative billing losses of 147.92 billion naira, while collection efficiency rose by 4.63 percentage points to 80.70%, compared with 76.07% in quarter 2. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll head into the news analysis segment. If you're tuning in, this is World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Joining me to help analyze our news item is Raymond Adegboyega, Professor of Accounting, Banking and Finance, British American University, Florida. Of course, he's a public and current affairs analyst too. Professor Adegboyega, thank you very much for joining us on the News at 12.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very fine, thank you for asking. Let's go to the first news item, which is former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, granted a bail by the Federal High Court of Justice Emeka Nwite. The bail was granted to him, his son, and his wife, 500 million naira. What do you think of this Malami's legal woes?
Well, thank you so much. In the first instance, if there's a seriousness in that kind of issue, it will be a writing in the right direction. But as for me, I would tell you that we cannot be different from the what we have been hearing before about what had happened to many of the politicians that are actually being arrested by the EFCC, and at the end of the day, most of these things just went back under the fire. The fire went back under the carpet, and nothing will happen. We won't hear anything. There are so many people that have been arrested before getting bail, and they have actually committed a lot of atrocity and high corruption in Nigeria, and they are now working freely in Nigeria. So I don't see it as a quite anything that will be quite different from what is happening before. And then in the first instance, it's so terrible in Nigeria that you have to see attorney general, to be involved in this type of fraudulent activity and corruption. That shows the kind of the government we have in Nigeria and the way we are running the affairs of this country. You can see that, and that's my fear, that there's high level corruption in Nigeria, especially among the politicians and the people, even presently with the people in government now. These people in government, most of them are actually involved in this atrocity. And for example, look at this, a man that used to be in charge of probing and dealing with some people in the past when he was during this administration. And you see, we didn't know that they are actually involved. So it's like a thief is now trying a thief. In Nigeria, it's a terrible situation. Those people that are supposed to be behind the jail, behind the bars, they are not the ones declaring jail terms to the innocent. It's a terrible situation. So that's where I see it. I don't see that a serious issue, that something that will actually be a new development, and it's the thing that will move the country forward. It's something like that. Maybe this man, Malami, is actually maybe not in the book of the present government. That's why they are dealing with him.
He's obviously not in the book of the present government. He has refused to kiss the APC ring.
By that, you have to see that there's nothing so special about it. It will not actually bring any good things for the country. It will actually damaging the situation because there's no sincerity. By the time he actually came in, so far he is being released now, he'll be lobbying around to either to join APC or to be in line with the government. Before you know it, it just be like that of this Kogi man that is now moving freely around, and many of them like that. You understand, in the country. Nigeria is not, to me, I won't deceive you, I will not lie. We are not ready to have good governance in Nigeria. We are just deceiving ourselves. We need to be upright and say the truth. I don't know. I'm sorry to say we are in a banana country. I'm telling you, nothing's working. Nothing's working.
So have you in tandem with people that are saying the current president has been using the EFCC and RCPC as a weapon? Can you really attribute this to that situation? What's going on with Malami?
Yes. I support those people that think that, because if you look at actually what actually happened, why majority of these governors are now moving to APC is because of two things. One, they are trying to protect their 2027 election to make sure they win the second time, or at the same time they are trying to fear that maybe those ones that will be able to finish or no, they will not be able to win the election, thinking that the moment they are not in that party and anything that happened after 27, they will be arrested and that will be the victim. I don't know. We need to tell ourselves the truth in this country. Only we are not ready to face it. Even the members of the public, they are still creating more problems to this thing because they are supporting these people. The time has come for us to face the reality. We need good people in government. I always say times with that number, the kind of people ruling Nigeria, they are not supposed to be the one ruling. Because we need we need people that are highly responsible and responsive, and they are ready to do the needful and the right thing. No sector of the economy is working. So to me, I would join the people that are saying that the present government is using the EFCC and the ICPC. Look at Malami, what the kind of revelation he made, that the present chairman of EFCC was formerly secretary of the EFCC when they were inducted. So these are the things that we need to, another government will come tomorrow and start saying that the present EFCC chairman, he has committed one thing or the other, and I will not be surprised.
Now, but despite that allegation, some people have said, yes, this is karma, because he did the same thing while he was Attorney General. Yeah, I said several court orders, while he was AG.
I know that I said it, that when he was in government, he was the one that actually trying so many people and committing a lot of atrocities. I agree. Agree is a crime. I agree. I'm not against being arrested because you have committed an offense. That's reality. Because there's one thing we have to establish. Has he committed? He has committed. So far he has committed. He has a right to face the music. But the problem we are saying is that why is it that what about the other people that they are actually arrested before they now take their bills and they are now working and nothing is being heard about their case again? That's what I'm saying. So by the time he himself is out now, he will be lobbying around to be part and parcel of that, and then they will forget about the case. Who is losing? It's Nigeria that is losing. It's the country and the masses. No, I agree. But at the same time, let's start doing something the right thing. Let me tell you something today. Whether we like it or not, it's a matter of time. Democracy without discipline can never get anywhere. That's what is happening in China today. They started with their democracy. There is a lot of discipline. People, you cannot just say because you are president and do something and go away with you. You cannot say because you are in government. The moment I'm in government, I can do and not do because I'm with the president. It's not good. It's
Now,
never done.
now,
And it's not a go, doesn't all go for the country.
Now let's go in over to party politics. Well, some may say this is an international politics story, but the African Democratic Congress ADC is doing what opposition does, which is criticize government when they perceive that they're not doing the proper thing. Now the ADC have criticized the federal government. Over Nigeria's silence in recent development between U.S. President Donald Trump and Venezuela. It's been on the news for days now, so we all know what has happened.
Mhm.
So the federal government have, unlike so many other governments, both in Africa and other parts of the world, that has expressed some sort of position or another, either in support of the U.S. or in support of Venezuela or international law. The federal government has been quiet, and the ADC are expressing an opinion about that. Do you think the ADC is right in this regard? That the federal government must
Yes,
pick us aside.
as an opposition party, they have a right to say so many things. You have to realize they'll be looking for the mistakes of the present government, whether we like it or not. But at the same time, you have to realize one thing that this present government is trying to be very, very careful because they are trying to make sure that their own interest is not actually affected. And because they know that the moment they make any statement and it's not go well with Trump, that will be the end of their government and anything can happen. Because I told you several times, have you remember several times that I told that America is the police of the world, whether we like it or not. So that's what they are doing their business, and we're supposed to be the police of Africa. So the present government being quiet, they have a reason. They have a reason because of their own personal interest. Because if you can remember vividly, this one, or I have forgotten this name, Aknyemi was saying that Tinubu should be very, very, very careful about Trump around early last year, that he should not do anything that will be against Trump. Because Trump, any African country that mess up with Trump will mess them up. We actually do worse than that of Venezuela. I'm saying it. So the present government, maybe they are trying to look at it. They make any pronouncement that may actually backfire. Because in many African countries that are saying this, they are saying because of their own personal interests also. Anybody that's going against Trump, because they know that they have so many things of that nature that the president of Venezuela committed. Most of them have committed that kind of offense and they are in trouble. And you can see what Trump is now saying now. He's not talking about whether you are dealing with illegal business with the US. He said that if you rig the election, we are coming back to you and come and take over. You see, America is ready, Trump is ready to do so many things. And we have not seen anything. This year is going to be a terrible year between Trump and some other nations of the world. So one needs to be very careful. Any president he has to let him go.
But what's your take on what Donald Trump did? Because the international
Can
communities
I
have
say,
said that it doesn't matter that how bad or corrupt or how authoritarian Venezuelan president is. Donald Trump don't have the authority and international. He has flaunted lots of international law to invade a country and adopt its sitting president.
Can I say something now? We are always deceiving ourselves. We have to realize something in the first instance now. This international law and this, who made international law? I didn't know these people that are actually in charge of international law. Who are the Who are the people that we call the people in World Bank? It's America. Everything is America. They were agreed. I agree. When you look at the law, it does not say that. But what Trump is saying is that the man involved in drugs stealing. And you can remember that in the last 2 years, I think Trump has spent up to 2 years or so. In his last 2 years now, Trump has been doing one thing we don't know. There's a lot of Venezuelan residents that he had killed on the sea. That people moving towards the United States of America to supply drugs. He has killed thousands of Venezuelans and other some of these Cubans and some of these part of American islands. People that are actually involved in drugs, and they said they have been monitoring that president for a long time.
And he has been criticized for that, if not for anything, for the fact that he's been taking unilateral decision on its own without evidence that these ships.
You mean Trump?
Yes, he has been taking unilateral decision.
You have to see one thing now about America, and that's one thing I don't understand them so much. The American legislative and the American resident or citizen will say that their president is doing something or that, but at the end of the day, we just say they will say they are in support of it. That's one thing.
In this case, he has not gotten lots of support, if anything. Even in his party, that decision has divided.
There's one thing you have, Mr. Solomon. There's one thing you have to. I agree with you, but at the end of the day, the America will still say that what their president has done. I'm just telling about the end of the day. I'm not talking about friendly. No matter what Trump is doing, he has his own reason. And agree may not be.
Obviously, the reason is oil. That's evidence. Right now, he's announced that the U.S. is taking control of Venezuelan oil, which is what some people have been postulating that he's been pursuing, using drug as a pretext.
There's one thing you have to realize. What are many of these African countries presidents are doing for us in our continent? Majority of them have been exploiting Nigerians, they have been exploiting us, and this is what America is trying to do again, and that is terrible. You understand? So that if this president themselves, they can upright and do the needful. You see what is happening in Venezuela? Ask me, do you know what is happening now? Are they agitating? Are they going on streets? Are they doing anything? You understand? You have to be you have to be happy, because many of the Venezuelans will be very happy that something of that nature is happening, because the moment the U.S. president sees that the citizens and the people of that country is not actually having it so good, or they are not interested and happy about what they are doing, there will be a change. You understand now? Because many things that's happening in most of this country, you have to realize that the citizens, majority of them are in support. Look at what's happening about this bombing of Sokoto side of the ISI. I think many Nigerians who are happy, especially in the northern parts of it, they were so happy about that. If the federal government of Nigeria will not do it and somebody is doing it, so they are in support of that. That's why I always say that African president, many of these African presidents need to sit tight and do the needful. Use the money of the citizens of that country, our nation, our continent for us.
Now, but don't you think the world is creating a monster? I mean, because the world right now has become unstable. The last time the world was this unstable was, at the start of World War II.
World War II, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
right now, it's the Trump is gaining unprecedented power, when an unlimited power, where it's like no leader in the world is able to stop him. And with the proverb that says absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now he is going further in our international news, which we've not read yet. He's also discussing option to invade Greenland. And Greenland is in Denmark, and this is now rattling NATO, because Denmark is an ally of the U.S., traditional ally of U.S. and member of NATO. This may escalate into
can I say something? Because what Trump is doing, before he became the president at the second time, myself personally, I did not like it. I was telling the O1 Americans that they will regret it, because I have so many people in America.
Already regretting.
That's why you will. I have so many people there. They were telling me that my president, without what we want, that we don't want all these Democrats. We want reform. We want conservative. I say you will regret it. So they are giving power to him, and it's difficult to impeach American president. It's never done, and I don't think it's possible. So, but apart from that, President Trump himself had an hidden agenda before he said that he was coming back at the second time. Even look at the guy that sponsored his election. See the way he's treating. Have you hearing the voice of Elon Musk again? He's silent because that's Trump for you. You understand? He has a mission, and so he had a mission before, and he's still using that mission. And that's why any African president needs to be very careful about
Now,
Mr. Trump nowadays.
moving
Whether you like, agree what he's doing, most of certain things that he's doing. I look at the $15,000 imposition he put on the Nigerian looking for American visa. Who will get $15,000 and be going to America to go and do what? You understand?
Okay.
These are the
Finally, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party on Tuesday met with former President Goodluck Jonathan at his Maitama office, where he promised, as in Jonathan himself, pledged continued support with the PDP. And we've talked about this several times, where people have been asking, where are the former presidents of the People's Democratic Party? Why have they been silent with what's going on, sitting down on the sidelines watching PDP tearing itself apart? And Goodluck Jonathan has always been a passive person. Even as a president, he was always called being docile. His personality is he's a passive person.
you can't blame. He's not a politician in the first instance, and that's why he's trying to be docile. Even as an academia, he's not that versatile. I'm saying it. I'm an academic. But the problem I see about Jonathan and some of these big guys in PDP before is because they have been silent by actually, if you remember, there was a time Jonathan supported Tinubu and some other people in PDP who have they supported Tinubu. They didn't know the implication of what they were doing there. And that's why it's difficult for them to actually come back to PDP and say they want to rebuild the party. If I tell you, I don't think there's anything like PDP in Nigeria today. Because if you look at what is happening in Ekiti now and Osun, there's no candidate for them because the INEC said that they are not recognizing this kangaroo, this guy did in Ibadan, Makinde. So far they are not recognizing, and most of them that could have tried to contest now, they are in that side of Makinde, and the PDP and the INEC is not recognizing them. The PDP is still with Wike, and with a Wike working for PDP, you know what it means that it's like
APC.
Not that working for APC, it's not make PDP to become APC. Don't say that it's working for APC. It's making PDP now to become a stooge of APC. Look at what he said in Bayelsa, in Rivers, saying that I don't want to hear anything about PDP or APC again. What's the meaning of that? This arrogance, this absolute power that we are talking about, Trump is using, and most of them is using Nigeria. I'm sorry to say that. It's terrible. Terrible.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Professor Adigboyega. It's always a pleasure.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Thank you.
That was Raymond Adigboyega, Professor of Accounting, Banking and Finance, British American University, Florida. Still on the news. World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. And then for a quick look at what's happening outside Nigeria, U.S. President Donald Trump has been discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, including use of military, the White House said. The White House said that acquiring Greenland, a semi-autonomous region of fellow NATO member Denmark, was a national security priority. The statement came hours after European leaders issued a joint statement rallying behind Denmark, which has been pushing against Trump's ambitions for the Arctic island. Trump repeated over the weekend that the U.S. needed Greenland for security reasons, prompting Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen to warn that any attack by the U.S. will spell the end of NATO. NATO is a transatlantic military group in which allies are expected to go to each other's aid in case of external attacks. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has also told lawmakers at a classified briefing on Capitol Hill on Monday that the Trump administration did not plan to invade Greenland. but he mentioned instead buying the island from Denmark, the Wall Street Journal and other U.S. media reported. Afterwards, a State Department spokesperson said on Tuesday that the U.S. is eager to build lasting commercial relationships that benefit Americans and the people of Greenland. Greenland and Denmark previously said they had asked to meet Rubio quickly to discuss the American claims on the island. On Tuesday, 6 European allies expressed support for Denmark. And finally on sport, Algeria secured a dramatic 1-0 victory over the Democratic Republic of Congo in their Africa Cup of Nations AFCON last 16 tie on Tuesday, setting up a quarter-final showdown with Nigeria in Marrakesh on Saturday. A late strike by substitute Adil Bulbina in the 119th minute settled a tense encounter at the Moulay El Hassan Stadium in Rabat. Released on the left, the 22-year-old forward who plays for Al Duhail in Qatar advanced into the area and unleashed a powerful shot into the net, sparking wild celebrations among the 18,837 fans in attendance. Bobea, making just the second appearance off the bench at the tournament, was overcome with emotion after the match. The 2019 champions, who won all their group stage games, now appear as strong contenders to claim a third continental title. Their victory, however, was a bitter blow for DR Congo, who had hoped to face Nigeria after defeating the Super Eagles on penalties in the World Cup qualifying playoff in November. It is Algeria who will instead face Nigeria in Marrakesh on Saturday, promising a blockbuster clash. And just before we go here again, our top stories: court grants 500 million naira bail to Malami, wife and son. We also brought a story that ADC criticizes federal government over Nigeria's silence following recent developments between Trump and Venezuela. And party politics, Tani Moturaki announces Goodluck Jonathan's pledge for support for PDP. And disco revenue rises as federal government pay 458.75 billion naira electricity subsidies in 3 months. Outside Nigeria, White House says US are discussing options to acquire Greenland including use of military. And in sports, Algeria beat DR Congo in extra time to face Nigeria in quarterfinals of AFCON. That's the world is at all from Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon of FM. Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.